Good afternoon and welcome to your Congressional Race Rundown. I'm your host, Kris. Today our focus will be on two toss-up races in the commonly unpredictable state of Florida. We have Anna and Melissa here today on live video call to give us their insight to these races. First, we'll discuss the interesting Senate race between the Democratic incumbent, Bill Nelson, and his challenger, the term-limited governor, Rick Scott. Melissa, can you give some insight into the political history of Florida and how it could be important in this year's Senate race?
Yeah, Kris. Winning Florida Senate elections has proven to be important for parties to control the Senate, as in the last 11 Florida senatorial elections, the winner was in the Senate majority 8 times. Furthermore, the de facto geographical divide in the state provides interesting results in elections. Northern Florida consists mostly of white evangelicals who vote Republican, while Southern Florida has a large Latino populations that vote Democratic.
Anna, can you elaborate on how demographic trends will play a role in this race?
Well, immigration policy is the most important issue in this election, which is largely due to Trump emphasizing the issue at the national level. Most Northern Floridans support stricter immigration policy, which would point to an advantage for Scott. However, Latino voters want a more liberal approach to immigration, so I wouldn't count out Nelson because his position on immigration is more lenient than Scott's, as it can be expected that he performs well in Hispanic communities, while Scott takes areas where white evangelical voters are a dime a dozen.
Melissa, Anna mentioned Trump and his plans for stricter immigration policy. What effect do you think Trump's polarizing nature will have in this race?
Once again, Latino voters are the important group here. A large majority of Latinos disapprove of Trump's performance, so I have no doubt that Nelson will take the Latino vote. But whether this matters depends on the effectiveness of Nelson's get-out-the-vote efforts and his ability to depict Scott as a Trump loyalist. In recent debates, he has failed to associate Scott with Trump, so I'd bet that Nelson spends the rest of his funds in Latino communities linking the two so that he can use Trump's unpopularity against Scott.
This race has cost over $90 million and counting. What would you say about the effectiveness of these candidates' campaigns, Anna?
On one hand, Scott's campaign was effective in that it helped to close a sizable gap in the polls through his immense war chest, donations, and personal contributions, which amounted to about a 3-to-1 advantage in funding for him. But it makes sense that Nelson raised and spent much less, as a dollar spent by an incumbent does much less than a dollar spent by a challenger. Notably, he's been very strategic in his spending. He had a $6 million advantage going into the last month of the race, and this late advantage could be the difference maker.
All things considered, we predict Bill Nelson to defeat his challenger by a narrow 2-point advantage. Now, let's turn to the 27th Congressional District race between former Health and Human Services Secretary for Obama's administration, Donna Shalala, and broadcast journalist Maria Salazar. Anna, what are the stakes in this election?
This district contains Little Havana and parts of Miami and typically votes Republican, but only at the congressional level recently. Democrats considered this seat to be primed for the taking because in 2016 they had split results, in which the voters voted for Clinton at the presidential level while simultaneously re-electing their Republican incumbent representative. She retired, so the Republican Party is at a disadvantage in Florida 27.
Melissa, do you also feel that the Republican Party is at a disadvantage in Florida 27?
I do agree because while the large Cuban American community here typically vote Republican, this trend could have simply been due to the loyalty to the longtime Cuban American representative rather than loyalty to the actual party. Evidence for this is that the district has voted Democratic candidates for president since its creation in 2012, while Ross Lehtinen has still won re-election. Maria Salazar is also Cuban American, but she's not going to experience the same loyalty from Cuban American voters as the longtime incumbent would. Other Latino voters, notably Puerto Ricans, shouldn't have a complex vote. According to the Rothenberg theory, Puerto Rican turnout will be in favor of Shalala in order to punish Trump for his subpar response to Hurricane Maria.
Last question for today. Anna, how does this district differ from the Senate race in terms of issue importance?
Gun control stumps all other issues in 27 this year, and that's because of the tragic shooting nearby at Parkland. This event might be enough to realign some voters to the Democratic Party due to the Republican negligence in response to such issues. The political climate is simply stacked against Salazar in this race, and considering the president's party loses seats in midterm elections, I'd say this will be one of those losses.
Thank you both, Melissa and Anna, for providing your insight today. While polling data suggests that this race is a toss-up, we expect it to be more of a landslide due to Shalala's 2-to-1 money advantage in an open seat race. We predict this race will go to Shalala by a margin of +6. That's all for today. Thanks for tuning in to the Congressional Race Rundown.